So we should.
No call to order items and public comments.
Okay.
I did not receive any public comments.
All right, so as I was mentioning, I welcome the group. One of the things I'm very honored today to have two community organizations that are back there with Bridge Disability Ministry and Issaquah Community Service Financial Assistance Program with Carol and Bryn. So one of the things with the Human Services Commission that we took upon this journey was as we're working and assisting with grant applications, making recommendations. So I want to make sure I applaud our Human Services Commission as well as we make recommendations to the mayor and so forth. One of the opportunities we got out of that is to ensure that we get to know our community members, to ensure that we're making a collective impact where the funds are going, and also to bridge more of the services with our mission, vision, and values. So we're very honored to have, again, Ms. Bryn and Carol. And I want to make sure too is that it is, we're having dialogue as well. So feel free to have Q&A as we kind of go into our presentation. And then we do want to get something real quick out of the order for approval of minutes.
So this will be just Human Services Commission. Sorry, kept it on the agenda.
I know the minutes got attached to our email. Was there any corrections from the Human Services Commission around for our minutes from May 21st, 2025? I'm looking at our commission meetings, focus on there.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
So without further, we're going to welcome Ms. Bryn from Bridge Disability Ministry. If you want to come up and give an overview of your program. Thank you so much.
All right.
Listen, do you have a PowerPoint?
Yep, right here. I'm just going to get set up for you. And then, Bren, where would you like to stand? Would you like to be behind the podium?
I would, yeah.
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay.
Also share with the teams.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Kyle. IT for the win.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to share our work. I'm Brent Shario, the Executive Director of Bridge Disability Ministries. Okay, so for individuals living with disability, they've reported that although their disability provides them or may give them much discomfort and difficulty, many report that the one thing, the greatest barrier to them leading happy, fulfilled lives is marginalization and social isolation from the greater community. So, we believe that building welcoming communities where every individual's gifts are acknowledged and their challenges as well, and providing them with not just the ability to be present, but the opportunity to provide to the opportunity to contribute to community life makes a real difference. And we're very proud and honored to be able to serve more than 3,000 individuals every year. And we do this by a lean staff. It's going to change. We do this with a lean staff of about 15 team members and over 350 volunteers. So, did I not play that? I did play it, right? Yeah. So, okay, it's playing right, Kyle?
It wasn't playing earlier. Now you just heard.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry about that.
Is there noise? Sound you have?
There's your voice.
I'm going to just minimize this.
Okay, got it.
And then if you need it,
Okay.
fast forward it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we do this with a lean staff of 16, including me, team members and over 350 volunteers. We provide refurbished medical and mobility equipment for folks to successfully navigate their communities and homes through our Meyer Medical Equipment Center. We are legal guardians to about 44 people with complex disabilities, and many of whom do not have anyone else to look after their best interest. And we do this through our guardianship agency. Spiritual Connections, we partner with more than 20 faith communities to host social events and to do outreach for people who may not be able to leave their homes for whatever reason. We believe that the feedback, I don't know how to take out that thing, but you'll see it. Yeah. We believe that the feedback we believe that the feedback and input of the people we serve is critical to our success. So we always look for new ways. We constantly look for new ways to gather, connect, and support one another. And we do this through our Spiritual Connections ministry. Our annual impact, last year, 2024, we impacted 2,700 lives, provided them with more than 5,200 medical and mobility equipment. We touched the lives of almost 400 friends with disabilities and their caregivers. And we supported and advocated for 44 guardianship agencies. I'm just going to let you love on that slide for a minute. And how can people access Bridge's services, you ask? Okay, and we make our services accessible through multiple low barrier entry points. We do outreach. Okay, I'm gonna just do that. We do outreach. For example, we reach out to a number of adult family homes, usually adult family homes that already have guardianship client residents in them, and we invite the rest of the residents to our social events. Our Bridge Center, our physical location in Redmond, is open to anyone who may need equipment. We also have delivery service to those who may need them for families to certain areas, to families and individuals. Partner referrals. We collaborate closely with hospitals, churches, public entities like the City of Issaquah, the Office of Public Guardianship, DDA, and private agencies and nonprofits like the Northwest Access Fund. For those with access to phone and the internet, they can find us there. We endeavor to answer phone calls and respond to emails within 48 hours. Endeavor is the key word. But we do really try hard. Community word of mouth. I still believe that Bridge is the East Side's best kept secret, although year over year, we have an increasing number of new clients that reach us through word of mouth. And of course, we have multilingual team members who are proficient in Spanish, Swahili, Portuguese, French, and Tagalog. And I will let you watch the rest of this short video to get a taste of social events with our friends with disabilities. The next slide will be the City of Issaquah's data. There we go. The City of Issaquah is one of the King County cities that fund our Meyer Medical Equipment Center. In 2023, we serve a little over 100 Issaquah residents, with 31 of those served during the first quarter. In 2024, let me just stop that for a second. In 2024, we served a little under 194 residents of Issaquah, and in the first quarter served only 17 residents. So far in 2025, in Q1, we've served 34 Issaquah residents, double last year. We expect to surpass the total of last year's total by the end of this year. Okay, so what changes do we anticipate and what opportunities do we see? Okay, with the potential loom of Medicaid funding cuts, we anticipate the growing gap in access to essential medical equipment and support services, particularly for low-income residents with low-income individuals with living with disabilities. And we believe that Bridge is uniquely positioned to respond. Our Meyer Medical Equipment Center offers critical and cost-effective solution by providing items like wheelchairs, walkers, hospital beds to those who may no longer qualify for Medicaid funding. We find this as a key opportunity to expand our reach and to also meet urgent community needs. The reduction in support services may also increase the vulnerability among people with cognitive abilities, especially those with no family advocates. This highlights the growing importance of a guardianship agency. You know, the shifting landscape, Bridge has the opportunity to step in with practical support. And thanks to city partners like the city of Issaquah, we can help fill critical service gaps and build a stronger, more inclusive safety net for the community, if you will. So going on to challenges and successes. At Bridge Disability Ministries, okay, my thing isn't sliding yet. Okay, there you go. Our greatest challenge is funding and staffing. Two issues that are deeply connected. Without consistent and continued support, we struggle to provide the wages that can compete with for-profit organizations, right? And, our work isn't transactional. It's a lifelong, it's built on long-term relationships and deep community trust. And so the need for sustainable funding isn't a budget issue for us, it's a people issue. And in February 2025, Bridge took the bold move forward to moving into a larger consolidated facility in Redmond. This space allows us to streamline our operations, improve service delivery, and expand, our capacity to respond to the growing community need. It also allows for cross-ministry support, and it provides our staff and our volunteers a more functional and welcoming work environment. And speaking of volunteers, one of our greatest strengths is the incredible power of our volunteers. As I mentioned earlier, we have 350 volunteers in 2024. Well, we're also on track to meet that this year as well. So their dedication and heart allows us to stretch our resources and maintain service, even in the face of staffing challenge. So by investing in people, staff, volunteers, and the individuals we serve, we're building a stronger and more resilient Bridge. But continued support is still essential so that we are able to ensure that we can retain talent and grow our impact. And this is where the support of the city of Issaquah is very, very much appreciated, because your continued support allows us to do just that, is continue growing. So thank you so much for helping and investing in our vision and our mission, and being a partner for about 4 years, 3 biennials. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave you with a short video. Our contact information is above our short video. This is one of our events for our Friends with Disabilities that was hosted by our faith community partners. And you can see a sample of what how we engage them and how we really improve our own lives as well. That's my son. Okay. Stop right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can watch that video over and over.
Yeah, this is a great time, commissioners from both commissions. Please, if you have any questions about Bridge Ministry, Disability Ministries, or their services, one of the big services they provide for Issaquah that we fund through Human Services is equipment. So wheelchairs, walkers, if somebody had a surgery and needs some bathroom assistance, changing their facilities there. They're a great resource for our community that clearly Issaquah uses in access. So thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
So great. So any questions?
Yeah, so your 400, what percentage would you say receive some type of Medicaid benefit now? Some of the,
Okay, so 75% for the people we serve, 2,711 people we serve in 2024, and 75% of those are moderate to low income, which is 60% of that 75% is low to extremely low income. We do not have data on who accesses Medicaid. But you know, that's something that, but the reason I bring it up is because we hear it often this first quarter, that is all that the people come in. Yeah. It's all that they talk about, that they're so, it's so grateful that we're there because they worry about losing some of their resources and benefits.
Obviously, you really serve the Issaquah area, but did you see it's all of each side that you provide support?
No, so obviously, I always say that anywhere we are geographically, that city will have a disproportionate number of people we serve. When we were in Bellevue, the bulk of the people in the east side was from Bellevue. Now that we're Redmond, we're seeing a lot of Redmond. We see a lot of Seattle people. Yeah, and we work with DESC, Downtown Emergency Services, and Union Council. So we see a lot of Seattle. And King County predominantly, we serve, of course, but we have other people from Pearson's Village.
Hi, Brandon. I'm going to piggyback off that first question. It sounds like you might not have the answer to this, but I'm just very curious. So the funding that you get currently is a mixture of Medicaid, which is state, which you're saying is going to go away.
No, we don't get funded
At all.
We don't take Medicaid money at all.
Okay, so most of it is local money from cities of Issaquah, city of Redmond.
And private funding.
Private funding.
Fundraising.
The bulk is from individual donations. Yeah, and then, the next one is from fundraiser events. Grants is fourth in our funding stream, revenue stream. The third, churches are lower. So it's individual donations, fundraisers, service fees are membership. It doesn't cover, but it's still there, and then, grants.
You said, like, trying to run that stage.
Yeah, so,
There's this medication that they go and they'll be a high.
yeah, you need a lot more people for the trial. That's fundraisers that are children's medical equipment. And that's what we're seeing in the first quarter. Good.
Sorry, one more question. You mentioned staffing challenges. Can you talk a little bit more about why you're seeing those staffing challenges?
Yeah, particularly in Meyer Medical Equipment Center. Our guardianship agency has long-term staff members and team members, spiritual connections. Long-term, I've been there 11 years. With our Meyer Medical Equipment Center, the technicians, they move on to higher paying per hour jobs, you know, so we train them for medical equipment repair. However, how we do that is we target people who make flexible hours a premium priority, and that's us. Seniors, we're looking for added hour income, and who have the ranch know-how. I obviously don't. But yeah, and stuff like that. But we see the staffing challenges there. The turnover is high there. It's our entry level. We have to increase the wages for the support supervisors, for the supervisors to be able to get that wages that we can. The good news is that year over year, our revenue streams, our funding from there is increasing as well. So I think that many of our funders recognize the need, and like I said, 70%, 75% of the people we serve are moderate to low income, and a great majority of that is low to very low. It was such a pleasure to meet you all, and thank you once again for inviting me. I would love to share our work again next year.
Thank you very much. Yeah, go for it.
All right, again, thank you so much for coming and sharing the great work that's been happening, Bren. The next folks we have on our agenda item is Issaquah Community Service Financial Assistance Program. And it's, I have Carol and Chris, make sure I get that right. And welcome.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hello. And thank you so much for having us here tonight. It's great to be able to share our story with you, and to share our gratitude. A very long time. I'm Carol Schneider. I'm the current president of ICS. This is Chris Wilkinson, the current vice president. And she's going to start us off with some information about the organization. And then afterwards, we can take questions if things come to mind that you'd like to know.
So hi, thank you again for having us. For those of you who don't know about us, Issaquah Community Services our tagline is neighbors helping neighbors because it's true. We are people, volunteers from the Issaquah School District area. We don't just serve the city of Issaquah. And helping with donations from the Issaquah School District area, like the city of Issaquah, like individual donors, like organizations throughout Issaquah that give us money, helping people in the Issaquah School District. So it truly is neighbors helping neighbors. Our mission for a long time has been, over 50 years, has been to keep providing emergency financial assistance, keeping the roof over people's heads, keeping power on, water on, and more increasingly saving them from addiction. It's becoming a bigger and bigger issue. You get these panic phone calls, you know, they're turning off. Do you know what it's like to have your water turned off? Well, fortunately, I don't, but I can imagine. And the gratitude that we get by being able to solve these problems for people is immense, and that's what keeps us going. We have clients choosing, I got my kids food, so that's why I couldn't pay the power bill this month, or a variety. Carol will talk about a variety of reasons. We also help with gas vouchers, which is time consuming for us as volunteers, but appreciated by our clients. We give gas vouchers to our own ICS clients, the ones that are referred from the homeless outreach programs here in Issaquah and from the Issaquah Food and Clothing Beach. But whatever. We have been an all volunteer organization. The good thing about that means that almost every dollar goes to our clients. I mean, and thanks to Issaquah for providing us a space to exist in, that would have been a huge expense for us. It is a challenge because we have to keep attracting new volunteers and training new volunteers, because it is not easy work. It is complicated work that involves computers and technology and people skills and knowing resources. And then retaining our volunteers. And so it's good. But luckily we have dedicated ones, and it's not just working in the office, it's doing presentations, it's doing our books, it's filling out the taxes, it's doing the pre-processing that takes place before we can even start on a client. So, or all the tech work, we have, you know, volunteers that do that for us. So, and often have to rely on them. Go ahead.
Thank you. So who do we help? Who comes to us? And I'd say the biggest reason that we hear are health issues. They can be chronic health issues and that result in disability. They can also be short-term. You know, if you are living on $1,000 a month, and if your rent is $800 a month, and you're an hourly worker and you get the flu, then you can miss a week. You don't have money for rent at that point if you've had the flu. I mean, it's just astounding how the most ordinary little things in a society that in some ways is not terribly supportive of real life. And a piece of that is for single parents. They have to put taking care of their children first. That's what we all want them to do. But if they stay home to take care of their children, they can lose their job for missing a day or two of work. And then they can't take care of their kids at all. So we hear all of these kinds of stories of just what happened that derailed a very functioning lifestyle, and have them pick up the phone to call us. Elderly or low skilled residents, certainly we see more of them than I would have expected before I started volunteering at ICS. And surprisingly, people who are waiting for assistance. So they get sick And they do qualify for all kinds of help. And it takes 3 or 4 months for the paperwork to go through. And they have to pay the rent in those 3 or 4 months. So there's, it's small things that are kind of surprising. And then the one that you can't see there is just things going wrong. Your car needs to be repaired. You can't go to work if you don't repair your car, so you have to do that. But then you don't have money for the rent or the utilities. So who have we helped? These are figures on the 2 left columns from 2024. The first column is throughout the Issaquah School District, which includes many pieces of other cities. And then the middle column is within Issaquah city boundaries. And the right column was the first quarter of 2025. So our total for total households, 472 households. And we count them as a household if we can reasonably figure that they have paid up their balance, and we get confirmation of that from the apartments so that they are not evicted. That would be a lot of families on the streets. 350 of those are here in the city of Issaquah. And you see, it's certainly overbalanced for that. Partly, I think it's our name, but it's also our history. People hear from people who have known us for years, for generations at this point. 50 plus years is a long time. 1,363 residents total overall. 708 adults, 657 children. And of the families, 446 of those 472 households have an AMI of 50 or less. So these are not people who have a lot of choices. They would rather do many things than talk to us about the embarrassing facts of their lives. So we try to be as supportive as we can as we go through this. The numbers between the first quarter of this year as 25% of the whole year for Issaquah last year are very similar. So we're not seeing any reduction. Unfortunately, we would love to be seeing a reduction. And then the funds that are distributed through ICS. Again, we have and these are numbers for the whole, the first line is the whole school district. And that's almost $300,000 we were able to distribute. And first quarter this year in Issaquah, it's 74,000. For within, or rather, that was the whole school district. So within the Issaquah city limits, 213,000 last year, 54,000 in the first quarter of this year. We also arranged payment for utility bills through Puget Sound Energy. And that was worth 121,000 last year. We don't have numbers for this year. And another fund that we can distribute through Salvation Army for $64,000 last year. There is just an astounding amount of need. So we're thanking you on the behalf of all of those people who are sitting in their homes tonight, hopefully watching TV with their feet up, more likely, yeah. Because you've helped, because you're here. Because Issaquah is the kind of community that reaches out to all of its members and helps. We're again so grateful for the office space. Given that we're all volunteer, we have very few expenses. We work really hard not to have expenses. We, if people are giving away little pads of paper in the grocery store for some reason, we pick those up and take them to ICS to use for our scratch pads. I mean, we really, hold this to an art form because every dollar we do not spend otherwise on office space, on staff, on scratch pads, every dollar goes direct to our clients. We also get wonderful telephone and internet from the city of Issaquah. And again, such a gift. That could take an awful lot of our budget just for those things. And advice, counsel, and connections, all kinds of help. Hannah especially has been amazing when we need help. She's so willing to step in. But perhaps, maybe most of all, is the $30,000 a year that we get from the city of Issaquah to help with the money that we put back into the community. Did I miss anything, Chris?
I would just say concerns for the future are just like everybody else. We don't know what's happening with funding. And again, as clients lose money for their, whatever they're on, then they're going to need more help from us. And so that's people in the community, really, truly. I mean, we get the large check from you, some money from the city of Sammamish. We get a few grants that we get. Issaquah Women's Club gives us a little money. The food bank gives us a little money. But mainly it's just people out in the community. And so it's very powerful that way,
That's only 10% of what you guys give out.
Well, the money that we get as a city of Issaquah grant, the 30,000, is only 10% of the total we give out.
Yeah.
It means one of the things all of our volunteers do is fundraising.
Yeah.
Because we can only give out what we have. And that's and the need is really quite astounding.
How many people did you take care of again? I'm sorry.
Sure. I'm so proud I got
Yeah,
that.
you did.
1,363 residents of the Issaquah School District. And it was 972 of the city of Issaquah. So, we think of Issaquah as this place that has, so much money, all those rich people living there. And certainly some are, and they are giving money to support us, to support the Bridge Ministries, which is an absolutely fantastic thing. But 446 families out of 472 having an AMI of 50 or less. There's just a huge number of people who do not have a lot of money. And Chris was saying, we're concerned, what happens? Our funding pretty much comes from individuals, from the city. I mean, we do not get federal money. We are not worried about losing federal money because we don't have any. But we're worried about our clients losing their federal benefits. What happens if that is reduced? If Social Security is reduced? If low-income housing support is reduced? Then all those expenses go up. Or on the other side, we're worried about people who lose their jobs, people who are doing fine until their job disappears. And then they don't have the funding anymore. And then they come to us. And I don't know how we could, increase the funding that we get. We work pretty hard to get the funds we have. We tap every place we can think of. So I don't know if there's more.
Yes.
Do you find that from year to year that a number of the families you work with each year
Are repeats?
are repeats?
We do have repeat customers. Yes, we do.
And do you have a program? I'm only asking this, at one point I worked with an organization that had like an emergency assistance program. And we did something similar in that regard, helping people stay in their house. But we also, like the second time, we enrolled them in a program for minimal save, like a way to encourage savings so that maybe 2 years from now, if it happened, they would have some cushion. Is there anything that you're able to do in that regard? I know it's super hard, like most of this is just not
No, I think-
possible and not, I was just curious.
I think HopeLink has those kind of resources, but they're a big organization
Yeah.
and they do have paid staff and stuff to do that, but no, but what we do have, we have a very dedicated volunteer who keeps up our resource list. And so we are able to refer our clients on, they need medical equipment, we're gonna send them to Bridge. They need this, so we do that for them. It's very tempting, just on a personal level, to step in and say, you used your credit card to pay the bill. No, but we don't, of course, because we're professional. But, you know, to worry about their future. But we have so many people that are just on the edge, so anything that happens,
I'm so curious, just a little back of my head, did the households each receive around $600? If you extrapolate it out, but is there sort of a cap that you allow, say that one household can only have 1,000 and then, or is it?
We do have a cap and we vary the cap depending on our funds. But we haven't actually done that for at least a year now. And we do not give more than $700 in any one distribution.
in a 6 month. Yeah,
One. We can give, twice a year. We can do once every 6 months. We do a lot of partnering with other organizations. St. Vincent de Paul, we partner with a lot. And with the food bank, we partner. So that when we can't fill the need, we can give them a list of places to go to get assistance. You know, none of this is ideal. You know, if I was designing a society, we wouldn't exist because they wouldn't need us. Or people who, you know, live for 5-10 years in desperate poverty. They would have some other way of getting money than emergency financial assistance. But there isn't. So we do what we can for the situation that the client's in. One more question? All set.
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, commissioners, for sitting in our human services presentations. Our organization, our city funds 48 nonprofit organizations in a biennium funding cycle. This commission has the heavy weight of making funding recommendations. And so we had over $2 million in requests and only $640,000 to provide. So they worked very hard last year to make those recommendations. This year, we are doing our presentations from our nonprofits to learn more about where the funding is going. So we appreciate you all sitting in, learning more about our amazing nonprofits in our community. We wouldn't be able to sustain this amazing, beautiful community without these nonprofits doing incredible work. So just thank you again for participating in that portion of our meeting. I'm going to invite Jaime to keep us moving. Just wanted to kind of say that word. So thank you all.
I want to add a little bit what Hannah's talking about. I would encourage folks to look at our strategic plan for human services. It was our first ever strategic plan being enacted and impacted. So just because of some hard decisions being made around human services, and for the categories we identified during engagement with folks and our nonprofit folks was physical and behavioral health, housing continuum, including housing affordability and homelessness, and then 3, cultural specific services and language access, and 4, community resources. So as we are navigating the challenges and conflicts and concerns around budget realities, is also making sure we're sticking to our 4 priorities when it comes to our grant application. So that's something I want to make sure I echo clearly, because it is important as we are dealing with our budget realities and making sure we're, helping our Issaquah folks. So wanted to put that out there before we go in. And then, so this is my 3rd time with you, Mr. Valdez. We have Mr. Valdez for our Central Issaquah Station Alignment Study Introduction Presentation. Presentation, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
You should be all set. Yeah. Good.
Hello, I'm back. It's great to see you all. Very familiar faces for many of you, but also some new ones. I am Thomas Valdez. I'm Senior Transportation Planner. Today I'll be talking about a study that we're kicking off this month, which is the Central Issaquah Station and Alignment Study. So we'll begin by giving a brief introduction on the work that we've done so far over the last decade or so. I'll talk about the purpose of this study in particular, our 18-month timeline, and the ways that we hope to engage with both of these commissions. So this slide shows the timeline, that we've had. Oh, cool. I'm just going to move it right here. So over the last decade, we've been planning for growth in Central Issaquah. Central Issaquah is where we expect most of the growth over the next 25 years to occur. So in 2012, the city created the Central Issaquah Plan. This talks about the neighborhood being a walkable, sustainable, and urban village area. In 2015, a portion of that was designated as a regional growth center, so just a subset. In 2016, voters approved a ballot measure to bring light rail service to Issaquah, and over the last couple of years, we've developed some documents that are helping us plan for that. So this is Central Issaquah, and the green area is the area that we're interested in for this study. So this green area is where we're expecting the majority of jobs and housing to occur. And I'll just have my cursor here. So this is approximately like the Costco area, where Costco headquarters is. Great, thank you. So yeah, again, this is the area that we're interested in, and we're expecting light rail service to occur here somewhere. In 2016, voters approved ST3. Many of you have seen this slide so many times. Sound Transit 3 is a ballot measure that is bringing light rail to Issaquah, but also connecting the region. So from South Kirkland through Bellevue, going out to Eastgate and ending in Central Issaquah. And last year, council adopted the light rail planning guide. This document talks about the things that we're thinking of as we're preparing to chat with Sound Transit. So we are expecting Sound Transit to approach us as early as 2027. And so this document talks about our strategy at a very high level, things that we're thinking about, in particular, Issaquah being at the end of the line and the challenges and opportunities that come with that. Last year, actually, 2 months ago, we developed a vision and guiding principles document, and this was created after a 1.5 year long process of working with the community. We had so many conversations. We developed focus groups. We had online surveys that were taken by over 800 residents. Really got a large amount of feedback that is all available on the website. There's a document that sort of summarizes everything that went into that. But this was adopted a couple months ago, and we're really excited to use it. This is going to be the cornerstone of this study that we're going with. So this study that's kicking off this month, ultimately the goal is to create one document. This will be our planning report. The planning report is going to identify the one preferred location that the community hopes to go with as we use the vision and guiding principles to benchmark where we're at. So just going through the deliverables of this, this document is going to have existing conditions as well as future forecasted conditions for Central Issaquah, what we're expecting in terms of growth and development, the infrastructure that we will expect, those sorts of things. Using the vision and guiding principles, we can then create a list of criteria that we can use to essentially score up to 6 alternative locations where light rail might be an option. We're going to talk with the community, do a really robust set of conversations. I have an open door policy, so anybody that wants to talk to me about this, I'm happy to meet one-on-one, but really want to vet out lots of good options, narrow it down to 6, and really talk those through to see what's going to be a good fit for the community. Ultimately, council is going to approve the one single location that will best realize the vision and guiding principles document, and hoping to finish that by the end of 2026. So with both of these commissions, hoping to have about 3 meetings with you all, but again, happy to meet one-on-one as needed. The 3 touch points that we're anticipating are today, as we get into the nuts and bolts of the study, hoping to come back at the end of the year to talk about the vision and guiding principles, evaluation criteria, so that we can score projects. Importantly, we want to do this before we actually look at any locations. We don't want to like sort of right size it based off of the options. We want to make sure that you know, the criteria that we've developed is thoughtful before we actually like dig into like the locations. So this should help us better understand the community needs before we you know, try to find an option that would best fit those. In the early part of 2026, we'll start looking at those 6 locations. I would love to come back to both of these groups individually, and we'll talk about the options that we've looked at and potentially look at refining some options. We are expecting by as early as 2027, Sound Transit will be beginning their planning process. And so we're hoping to finish this up by the end of 2026 to be ready for that. We don't know in particular when Sound Transit will begin, but as early as 2027. So this report, which is essentially the major deliverable, will be updated as needed so that it's ready to go when they're ready to begin their process. That's all I have. Would love to answer any questions or receive any comments you have, but also, again, happy to chat with anybody offline if you prefer just one-on-one conversations.
Hi, Thomas. You said that the Sound Transit's going to potentially come to the city in 2027, and that's when you deliver your proposed location. Does Sound Transit have veto over that, or is this going to be city of Issaquah, where do you want it? We want it here, done deal, right? Or does Sound Transit say, yeah, I don't think that's feasible, we're gonna.
Yeah, that's a great question. And Sound Transit is the decision maker. So we are in an advocacy position. Our goal is to have an option identified and the documentation to show these are the reasons why this location works great for the community. So our goal is to have a win-win, you know, really centering on local needs while also acknowledging that they have regional priorities too. So our goal is to try to hit both of those marks, but ultimately we're in an advocacy role. Sound Transit's the decision maker, and the option that we present to them is an option that should meet their needs as well as ours. And the end result may not be exactly what we're hoping to get, but at least they'll know where we're coming from. So there's no question in their minds as to like what we're looking for. And a lot of the hangups, a lot of the reasons why a project may get overrun in terms of cost or time is just from those like initial things, like the communications. So we're getting in front of it. We're saying this is what we want and hoping to get something like that exactly or similar at the end.
Yeah. Do you have any, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'll leave ask, you might be asking.
So do you have any anecdotal information about, let's say, Redmond? It's just, I have a location, one of my businesses is right there where the terminal's gonna terminate, and that wasn't where it was initially thought it was gonna be. So did the city before plan and get trumped by, did they get overruled by Sound Transit, Sound Central? We're gonna go here irrespective of what your wishes are?
Yeah, most of the cities that have done a process like this, they've identified general locations. So we're not saying specifically it needs to go on this parcel. But there's been a lot of success, particularly, Redmond, Federal Way, Snohomish County has a couple of locations. These are all cities or municipalities that have done the pre-work to identify areas that are going to be good opportunities. So we're going to be careful not to, overly prescribe where something could go. But we're just really identifying these are some great locations, both from an opportunity perspective in terms of like ridership. But we're also like the city in particular, we're interested in placemaking and making sure that like it feels like the Central Issaquah vision. And for many years, Sound Transit has not thought about, providing rail in terms of like where you're at, like the placemaking aspect. They're concerned about getting riders, getting people to sit down in their trains. So we're interested in like threading the needle between both of those and hoping that by identifying early, like this is what we're looking for, we can have a win-win situation.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
What do you see as the biggest challenge in trying to identify these conceptual locations?
I think the biggest challenge is going to be thinking about the operational needs of a station. And so one of the ways that we're hoping to address that is we've created a group that I'm calling Ski Team, just for fun. But it's going to include Sound Transit, King County Metro, WashDOT, the Washington Department of Transportation, who has the right of way along I-90. All of these agencies that would have something to say about it. We're trying to get them ahead of it, even before Sound Transit's formal project starts. We want to know all the operational aspects of what King County Metro would need to have connected buses and like sort of the land capacity or like the land needs that they would have, or like, things that they're thinking about. By 2030, they're hoping to have all their buses electric. And if we're end of the line, like, what does that mean? Do they need charging facilities? If we're end of the line, maybe people need to use the restroom. So like, what does that need? Like, what is the space for that? So we're thinking about all these things, things that most people don't think about. We want to like really dig in to have a pretty good idea when Sound Transit is ready to design their facilities, like sort of what might be needed and what the constraints and opportunities could be. So we're trying to get all those ideas out before so that we have a pretty good idea.
I would assume King County Metro is who's going to be responsible for bridging the gap between the termination end of the line and the Highlands, I would assume.
Right. So the location will be in Central Issaquah, but obviously a large portion of the population is in Highlands. So we're going to want to think about operational needs, like getting fast buses between Highlands.
But that would be King County Metro.
That would be King County Metro. Sound Transit also has buses. It would connect, so feasibly they could have the
Like the parking, right?
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Thomas, when you brought up the map, you pointed to a specific area. You said somewhere around here. Is it all around the coastal area? Is it?
Sorry, the cursor was just out. There was so much going on.
Oh.
Just the green box is what I meant. Yeah. Yeah. I was referring to, I think
Right,
most
there's
people.
a parking lot we're gonna put it, so.
Sorry?
I'm just screwing with you now.
Yeah, so I think most people in the community are aware of where Costco headquarters is, so that's where I was circling, but I don't mean anything by it. I just mean the green area is where we assume.
You said you narrowed it down to 6, people that share those in the central square.
We have not narrowed down any. We haven't looked at any at all. The light rail planning guide. Oops. The light rail planning guide talks about 4 locations at a very high level idea. So this is potentially 4 locations we'll look at. We want to leave space for other ideas that come out through the process. So we're scoped for 6. Council we really appreciate council budgeting for this project, and we would have loved to entertain 1,000 ideas, but budget is so constrained, we're limiting it to 6. We're going to chat about, how we vet these ideas, but 6 is what we're, going to have budget for, basically. Yeah.
We're hoping that they do come to approach in 2027. What do you think is the window of time? Do you think it might be more like 29? Do you think, do you have any sense of that or how that's worked with other cities?
I really don't, but I think we're trying to be optimistic here. Understanding that Sound Transit, we all know, has had some issues with timing. But if we don't plan in the earliest, then they could be ready and we'll be too late. So our goal is to keep this evergreen, finished by 2026. If it takes longer for them, we're going to keep updating our document, make sure that our assumptions hold true. But this document should be ready to go when they're ready. Oh. IT, somebody help. Should I maybe stop sharing? Would that help?
Say more.
Okay.
I think it's new, yeah.
The presentation for that meeting. Were you?
Oh, did I do it right?
It's not an issue.
Are you?
Yeah, I wanted to see. Yeah, go ahead, Manny.
Oh, Thomas, Manny Brown here. The key words lately has been AI, and I was just wondering if you guys have used that tool to put all your information in and see what it spits out. And I also saw on there a date of 2044, which at my age it probably doesn't matter, but um, we're. Do you use that tool to find out what it thinks, or what would be the best places to put this?
AI is an interesting tool, but there's so many biases in it. We really can't rely on it. So
Right.
yeah, I think, ultimately AI can be helpful in some ways, but ultimately it's going to be about chatting with people. And we do have a consultant team. I can't speak to how they do it, but yeah, ultimately it's going to be about, using the data that we have available, making sure that we check our assumptions. So much of this work is about learning from others. So we intend to, the cities that we talk to, Redmond, Federal Way, Snohomish counties, we're really we're trying to base our information on the work and the successes that other cities have done using a proven method. We're hoping to also emulate that as well. The second question you had.
Yeah, I mean, I believe best way to go is with personal contact for sure.
Right.
But I'm just wondering if it was something you guys were using. Thank you.
So you've got the light rail station that you have to plan for. Then there's also the I-90 overcrossing. And having to converge both of them and to fully understand the impacts of both on a particular location. how do you know that you're getting all the information for that? To make a decision now without having, there certainly, I can imagine there's gonna be a lot more information too when Sound Transit comes.
Yeah, I would say that the goal of this study is to be compatible with the I-90 crossing. I-90 crossing is meant to have forward compatibility between the station, wherever that goes, and then wherever the crossing is. So we certainly want to make sure that we're connecting both sides of Central Issaquah, which are that's currently a huge issue for development. Can't get people on either side well. So making sure that the area is walkable is also going to necessitate that we have a good crossing for Central Issaquah. So we're going to make sure that they're both thoughtful and they're thought together. Yeah.
So you mentioned the scope of work, or you mentioned consultants. What's the scope of work that the consultants are doing for you? And then where does the small business community in this conversation, as far as the scope of work's looking at, for as far as like relevant presentation, how are you incorporating conversations with the small business and the businesses?
Sure. So the scope of work is what you've seen in front of you. So the consultant team will do the existing conditions analysis, future conditions analysis. We've asked them to create let me get my notes here. I have the PowerPoint up here. There's the criteria development. So the consultant team will work with internal, City of Issaquah folks, as well as the ski team, the agency partners. That's going to be sort of the first draft, and then we'll run that through boards and commissions. I'm hoping to do lots of pop-up events, and if you have access to any groups that want to chat with me, I would love to do that. We've been chatting with anybody. We went to a small business, what was it called? It was the small business open house, I think, in February. Talked to people there. That was in the Highlands. We had a table at Bike Everywhere Day in May. Happy to go to any events. I love talking about this topic, so I could talk about it indefinitely. Yeah, other scope that the consultant team will be doing is looking at station locations. These are also going to be vetted through committees. And yeah, happy to chat with anybody about any of these things.
On a related note, and you're probably already putting this comments, but the chamber and engaging with them and having them bring the business community, because they're connected with large businesses, large and small. I still remember that. Sorry.
Good.
Yeah, would love to chat with them.
Conduit.
Yeah.
In the business community.
Yeah.
And same with UVP. Between the two of us, I think.
Yeah. That sounds great. I currently have a list, I have an email list going of interested parties. It's slowly getting bigger. I'm wary about oversending information, but as this project kicks off, I do want to start keeping people updated on this. We just haven't kicked off yet. But yeah, I'm interested. Last year, I believe it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, as we were doing the transit study, was talking to the Kiwanis group, so I plan to chat with them. Yeah, would love to talk to everybody. So yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit about King County's looking to invest in the electric buses, but with this station, can you talk a little bit more about what Issaquah is planning to do for making sure it's still sustainable and meets sort of the Issaquah sustainability plan?
I can't speak specifically to the sustainability plan. That's sort of not my department, but I do know a little bit about sustainability in transportation. Yeah, we're interested in I would say more than most communities in sustainability. It's a cornerstone of the vision and guiding principles for the Central Issaquah plan for the station area. Yeah, I mean, transit is inherently more sustainable than driving, and we'd love to see more people riding in transit. The facilities themselves are not defined yet in terms of like the station itself, but I believe it's 1% of Sun Transit's overall project budget does go to art. So one way that we could sort of promote sustainability and like sort of the Issaquah feel that we all love is we could use or like Sun Transit could potentially use that with local artists to sort of promote the vibe that we're trying to go with. So yeah.
But has transportation, like, can then look at the actual impacts building the subway station would have?
I see. So is your question about the construction
Like,
impacts? I see. Yeah, these are all things that we want to think about, but we just haven't gotten to that point yet. Yeah, and Sound Transit does, they do think about that. There's this whole environmental review process that will look into that. I know there's a lot of concern about like CO2 emissions with like constructing, using concrete and such. So these are all things that Sound Transit will be looking at. But ultimately, getting cars off the road and making Central Issaquah like really walkable is going to really help with a lot of that.
Self-driving buses, et cetera, could change the vision.
I don't know that the vision changes too much with electric vehicles. Ultimately, electric vehicles are producing less greenhouse gas emissions, but they still need to use the road, and there's rubber in the tires, and that can harm our fish that we love so much. So ultimately having a walkable neighborhood where there's jobs and housing nearby that people can enjoy, I think all these things are really gonna be pretty timeless for Central Issaquah. That being said, this station will not be here for another 20 years. And we do want to leave space for growth. So hoping to have the station, not overprescribe and leave some space for like, the need that comes in the future.
We talk about sustainability measures and looking into the future. As Thomas said, think about self-driving cars. Those we anticipate, going to use the roadways more efficiently, but it's still, as Thomas indicated, there's still a lot of people that are going to be moved through this region, and transit is still what we anticipate to be the most efficient way to do that, just because we're packed in a little tighter on these trains. And so as we look ahead, this project right now that Thomas is talking about, looking at station area locations, providing those recommendations to Sound Transit, that is, we're way before design of the station itself. And so I think we don't anticipate self-driving cars, electric vehicles to change the station locations. As we get closer to actual design and completing the design of the station, that's when we're going to have to also think about how does this station that's going to be around for at a very small minimum of 50 years, probably more like 100 years, how is that going to accommodate the future and changes in technology? So that's going to get more into specific design elements, along with sustainable construction elements, right? So we're just at the phase of saying, okay, we know it's going to be in this big green box in Central Issaquah. Where in this green box do we think it's going to be? And then as we move forward in design and kind of continue to make progress on finding out exactly what this is going to look like, that's when the details of, are we using recycled concrete? That's when the details of how is this going to accommodate future technology and changes? Because electric buses and whatever the trains are going to be running on in 125 years, if you can even try to imagine that, that's when those design choices are going to become really important. But we're still quite a few years away from those things. And That's how we try to think about this in iterations. You know, what do we know now that we can put this together and figure out, okay, where can we put this? Let's look at locations and then let's think about, those design choices and everything once we get to that phase of the development.
There's been some really great examples like in Bellevue and Redmond. Those communities have really added a lot of character to their stations that could otherwise look pretty like brutal and gray. So, you know, understanding that we love the outdoors, we love salmon, we love trees, you know, we love riding our bikes on the trails. Like these are all opportunities that we can really think about as we're designing the station.
There, but because you guys were talking about this planning report and that you're looking to present to Sound Transit, and so I guess my question on, as you're looking to create the station planning report, are you taking into consideration like, well, what a station near the creek, for example, impacts, right, versus like a station like farther away from the creek? So if you have that, my question, are you guys taking a sustainability view into consideration as one of the areas that you're looking at in front of the report?
Yes.
We are. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So Sound Transit will do a full-blown environmental review. However, we're also doing our own, but it'll just be a tiny review. So we'll understand, like, you can't be near a, you know, a creek. If you're right next to a creek, you know, there's issues that come with that. Also, like structurally, there could be some issues with the facility itself. So we're gonna dive into these and just at a very high level identify fatal flaws about where a station probably should not even look at being. Sound Transit is going to do an even deeper analysis, and we're not trying to compete with that, but we just want to know, like at a pretty high level, like probably shouldn't put a station here because it's probably not going to work for these reasons. And you could probably put it here because it would work for these reasons. So that's kind of at a high level what we're trying to get at. But sustainability definitely is, we're very interested in making sure we're not doing any harm.
And is also like a people kind of lens included in this as well, like within sustainability and impact we have on communities in those areas?
Yep, absolutely. And we're hoping to chat with as many people as possible so that we definitely know we're ticking all the boxes. We want to make sure that we've talked to everybody that wants to talk to us. I'm going to try to go to places where people are, and like if anybody identifies something that I haven't thought about or that our team hasn't thought about, would love to hear that.
Just seeing about, you know, what's happening now, people have just like extra, like what drags profits on it, that people are like, oh, well, I want this to go here, and like getting the landowners to cooperate. And my sense is that the city of Issaquah with like local landowners in Issaquah, probably people will be more willing to talk to the city than to talk to Sound Transit, which is like, you know, multi-county huge organization. So that's something that we're looking into at all in terms of like, oh, you know, here's where we think the station should go, and also like here's where you can route the station, where, or route the rail with landowners are actually like.
Yeah, it's a really great point. And, you know, one thing that we've seen with a lot of these projects is in the 11th hour, an additional idea comes in, and that can really like add 3 years to the project. And so we're trying to vet some like up to 6 locations that could be viable options, and would love to just stick to the plan, whatever we choose to rally behind, acknowledging that Sound Transit is going to have their own process. But if we can really like have these conversations early, have people think about what this means for them. We're going to have all these conversations with the developer, property owner groups that own a lot of the land in Central Issaquah to really like help them think about like light rail coming and sort of what that means. If we can have these conversations early, we can, we can keep our all parties informed by the time that Sound Transit is ready, and hopefully that we can help Sound Transit at least. We can do what we can to help them like keep to their schedule and their budget and all that. Any more comments? Any questions? Again, happy to chat after this. I think a lot of people have a lot of feelings about this, a lot of thoughts, but anybody that wants to talk to me, happy to do it.
Thomas, is there anything more you can highlight to us about community engagement moving forward? Whether it's with the property owners or community members as we move forward in trying to select a preferred alignment?
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Yeah, so, our timeline is through the end of 2026. We're gonna have a couple open houses. We haven't scheduled those yet, but once we kick off and once the consultant team is ready to roll, we can start planning all this. Again, I'll be going to the boards and commissions a couple times over the next 18 months. Council's gonna see this. We're gonna have, a lot of opportunities. I'll be out in the community, and I'll be doing a lot of these one-on-one conversations, as well as meeting with groups like Kiwanis, the chamber. Any tips you have about meeting with people, I'm happy to do it. I'll make time to do it. I think the goal is to just share as much information as possible and try to get as many ideas out here so we can really think about this pretty thoroughly. Because this project is like the biggest project that Issaquah will see in the next 50, 100 years. Yeah, so we got to do it right. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, Thomas. I hope to see you soon. Give the updates. The next thing we had on the agenda was any announcements from the group. Looking at our commissioners. Manny, any announcements from you? Commissioner Maury? Very good. All right, we're gonna adjourn our meeting at exactly 7:57, June 18. Our next meeting is July 16. And thank you so much, Economic Vitality, for joining our joint session today. Thank you.
Yeah.
EBC member, real quick, could you have about minutes to state, I don't need to go over.
All right.